Alright, what's up guys? Chocosura here, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Final Fantasy Tactics The Lion War ReMixed mod. And first of all, I want to say excellent job to the creator and all of the people who have had their hand in producing this mod. I want to say fantastic job. You guys did a wonderful job with this mod. This is definitely one of the best mods I've ever had the pleasure of playing through. And yeah, honestly, I can't really find anything I didn't like about it. I mean, and there's like one or two things I can nitpick on, but I mean, they're just small things, honestly, personal things really. But for the most part, you guys did an excellent job with this mod. So I want to say thank you for producing this mod. Thank you for releasing this and giving us players the chance to play through it. So I'm going to be giving my thoughts and critiques and sharing, things I liked about the mod and things I didn't like about the mod. But there's barely anything I didn't like I said before. So we're going to go ahead and get right into this review. Uh, so in a nutshell, this mod basically it is the Lion War version of Final Fantasy Tactics. For those of you who have played War of the Lions for PSP, you'll know what I'm talking about. This is a mod based on the War of the Lions version, which so it does have most of the War of the Lions exclusive things in this mod, like rendezvous missions and extra side quests and all that good stuff like that there. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Now, the the meat of this mod is basically the quality of life changes that were implemented, and I'm going to go over some of them in this mod, in this review rather. But yeah, the quality of life changes were very well done. I mean, there was a lot of like ASM hacking that was put into this mod, and a lot of tender love and care put into this mod. So, uh, so let's go ahead and I have some slides I want to show here. We're gonna go ahead and get started. Um, we're gonna start with this first slide. So basically, this is one of the many quality of life changes for this mod, which I loved. I mean, I loved basically all the quality of life changes, to be honest. But this one in particular is awesome because what this is basically you get into a battle and it gives you an option. It gives you plenty of choices here, whether you can redeploy your team, you can save before the battle, you can change the music, you can reveal the treasure spots on the map, you can look at the map and see what's on it, you can temporarily retreat, and you can flee to the world map, and of course you can start the battle. So this gives you plenty of options as to what you want to do. If you're not sure if you're ready for this battle, you want to re-equip your team, or you want to use different units, you have the option to do that. Vanilla Tactics did not have this option. You were thrown into a battle and you were forced to fight it, and if you didn't think you were ready for it, you would have to reset the game. You don't have to do that with this mod. So I felt that this was a very much needed uh, implementation to this mod. This was very much needed. I like that. All right, next up, and this is basically the change music screen. It allows you to randomize your music for the battles, and this is only for random battles. You can't do this for story battles, but I mean that's not really a minus point or anything. That's just, I mean, it is what it is thing. But as far as random battles, you are allowed to change the music, and this also goes for a deep dungeon as well, because deep dungeon is pretty much random battles anyway. So it does have, I believe it has all of the tracks in the game on this list. That's like 90 something tracks. I don't know how many there are exactly, but uh, you can also mute the music if you like to. So that's another neat change that I liked. And using this, you don't have to listen to the same tired old random battle music that we're all used to in vanilla. So you can play whatever music you want, which is nice. I like that. Basically, this screen is if you happen to game over, you're given the option to either return to the title screen or return to the world map, or you can retry the fight. And while I think I've been into the screen once, I forgot where, uh, but anywho, that's beside the point. Another nice quality of life change which I liked is this pretty much what it is game over recovery. Um, Instead of just booting you right to the title screen, forcing you to start over, you are allowed to retry the battle, which is another thing that I liked about this mod. Definitely one of those quality of life changes that was needed. Alright, now we get into one of the bigger quality of life changes and implementations of this mod. We have the Brave Story screen. So basically here you have access to your dispatch missions, you have access to the rendezvous that were in the War of the Lions version, you have access to the Depths of Mavan, and this is pretty much where you're going to spend a lot of time in the game, because um, this is the best way to gain your JP, really, or the dispatch missions. And as far as Depths of Mavan, I'll get into that later on in the video, but the dispatch missions option definitely was a great thing to put into this mod, because I mean, if you play through vanilla tactics, you know how you have to grind JP to get abilities and skills and whatnot, and it takes forever sometimes. With this mod, you don't have to do that. So here is the dispatch missions screen. You go into this bar, and it gives you several options on what you can do here. Here's where you can access your propositions, and you can access things like jobs. You can do special training, contests. You can also look at your team, your formation, and you can recall your units if you've already sent them out on propositions. Say if you sent out the wrong unit or whatever, you can recall them back. And I feel as though that this is one of the best things about this mod. I mean, there's just so many options that you have access to that makes things a lot easier. And I know the propositions option is kind of grayed out, but this is from my playthrough. I did all the propositions. That's what it looks like when you do all the propositions, by the way. Yeah, so another thing I loved about this mod was this entire proposition system. And here is a shot of the proposition system, and it's also used for the jobs and contests and whatnot. So basically, you send up to 3 units. Like if you want to send them out on a job to get some JP, you send 3 of your units, and then it will charge you some gil to send them out. And then, of course, you have to wait a few days. And the days you wait depends on how many of the propositions you've done. Certain propositions will allow you to decrease the amount of days you have to wait. And I think you can get it as low as 2 days. So basically you park yourself at, say, Goland or Lasalia, or between, say, Zargadus and what's that one place? right under Nervesca Temple, Zeltenia. Pretty much anywhere between 2 dots, and you can have your days done. And this is basically the fastest way to gain your JP in this mod. One of the faster ways. Early on, you don't have access to propositions, so you have to use jobs, and you can send like chapter 1, for example, you can only send 1 unit to one job, but as you play through the game, you get to send more and more units out on the same job, and by the end of the game, by end game, you can send multiple units on the same job, which is really nice. I like that. Going on to this next one, another thing I loved about this mod is the fact that you can send your units on these special training missions. They do cost money to do, but I mean, money's not that hard to come by. So there is that. So basically, you have a bunch of options here. You can send them on valor training, detection training, theology, and stuff like that there. Basically, what these do is you send 3 units or up to 3 units on one of these training missions, and they're just like propositions where you have to go around a couple of days, and once you fulfill those days, you come back and you pick your units up. And for these training missions, they will gain certain stats depending on which mission you send them on. So valor training, for example, which is the first one on the list there, you send up to 3 units on a valor training mission, you come back to pick them up, and then they will gain a boost to their brave. So valor training boosts brave. I do believe that there is a cap on which you can earn brave like this. I think it's 80. Like once you reach 80 brave, I don't think you can gain brave like this anymore. You have to raise a unit's brave by using mediators or using cheer up or something like that. Pretty much the old-fashioned way. So if you have, like, say a 40 brave unit and you send them on one of these valor training missions, then they'll come back with like plus 15, plus 20 brave, something like that. So it's a really nice way to boost your unit stats. Like your brave, you can lower brave with detection training, you can raise their faith with theology study, you can lower units faith with evolutionary study, and like I said, there is a cap on how much you can raise a stat or lower a stat. And this is one of the things I loved about this mod. It speeds up the grinding process as far as training units and whatnot. So, like I said, if you wanted to make a unit with 97 brave and 3 faith, this is probably the fastest way to do it. At least to get them up to 80 brave or down to, I think it's 20 faith, and then it won't lower your faith anymore or something like that. Or 20 brave. Yeah, so definitely I love this part about the mod. There's also the retraining option. Basically what this is say if you have a high level character in your team on your roster and you recruit someone from the soldier office, or you get someone that's a lot lower level, or you have a unit that you haven't used in like 2 or 3 chapters. Using the retraining option, what you can do, you send that person out on the retraining mission, they come back after the required amount of days, and then they will catch up in levels to pretty much the average highest level of your team. So you send them out as say you want to train them as a priest or something. Basically what happens is the game will treat that unit as if they spent their entire time in that job class. So this is great if you want to train up a level 1 unit as a ninja, for example, up to let's say you have a level 99 unit on your team, and you send out a level 1 unit on a retraining mission as a ninja. They will come back at probably level 90-ish. It depends on the rest of your units as well. The game will treat that unit as if they had spent their entire time in that class. So they will have all ninja growths and multipliers. So that's really nice. I did use this function a couple of times during my playthrough to catch up on not only levels but to build stats. It's also great for late game characters such as Reese and Beowulf, Cloud especially. This is very nice for Cloud because Cloud joins level 1. So you pop him in a retraining mission and say if you wanted to level him as a ninja, like I said, you can do that. And then he'll join, he'll rejoin as, as if having all ninja growths on his stats. Unlearning. I didn't really use the unlearning option during my playthrough. It unlearns skills that you don't use, but I feel as though that's really not necessary because of the way that you can learn your skills. You can unlearn your skills manually. So, I mean, there is the option. You can do it like en masse, I guess, but yeah, I didn't really use that, so I can't really say much about it. Transitioning basically is what it is. I mean, if you want to have one of your characters transition, you can do that. So let's say you had a male unit and you wanted to make them a female unit, you can do that. And vice versa. That's one of the many neat things about this mod that you can do. This is basically the contest. The contest system is by far the best way to gain JP on this mod, and all the contests are repeatable. Like for example, here we have the sharpshooting competition, and it'll tell you what job class you need to have in order to win the contest. So, like I said, in this example, the sharpshooting competition is basically for archers, and on this screen, you get to pick 3 units, and below, on the top there, where it says like charge level 3, right there, it will tell you the level of that job class for that unit. So in this shot, for example, Rafa's archer job class is level 3. Now, to win the contest, to get first place and get the most amount of JP possible, and guild for that matter, you have to have a total level of, I believe it's 15 or 16. I think it's 15. Pretty sure it's 15. So if you have 15 or more levels between your 3 units, you will win the contest automatically. And that will guarantee you the most amount of JP. So as you can see here, I have Rafa and 2 of my generics who are charge level 8. In this contest, you send them out just like a proposition. You wait the amount of days, and then you pick them up, and the game will tell you whether they won the contest or they got 2nd place or 3rd place or whatever, depending on your charge level, depending on your job level rather. And you will gain JP for those jobs. So this is, like I said, this is the best way to gain JP. And you want to make sure that you have your jobs, your units in a way so like if you're trying to get an expensive ability, like let's say move plus 3, for example, that's 1,000 JP. You're trying to get that for somebody, then you want to make sure you have that unit in that class so you can get the JP for it. Also, your units will gain spillover JP from the other 2 units. So as you can see in this shot, my dancer gains archer JP because I bought an archer, and squire JP because I bought Rafa. So you can you can gain JP in 3 different job classes if you wanted to. Now of course you won't get as much spillover JP, but by the end of the game you do all the propositions and the amount of spillover JP you get just increases. It's not much at first, but as you play through the game, you'll get more and more JP. And for participating in the contest, you gain JP gained based on the contest that you did. So this was a sharpshooting contest, which means you get Archer JP for all three of your units, which is pretty cool. So this is definitely one of the things I liked about this mod, is this contest system. It really cuts back on the amount of time you have to grind your characters, especially Chapter 4 special characters like Orlando or Beowulf or Reese, for example. You don't have to spend time in battles to gain JP. You can just, use the contest system, gain your JP that way. And yeah, contests, they occur every month. There's a different contest every month. So basically what you can do is just walk around the world map and just forward the days. Like I think the sharpshooting contest, for example, I think is in March, I want to say. February, March, one of those months. And once that's done, you can forward the time to the next month and then come back into the dispatch missions room, and then you can do the next contest. And that's pretty much the fastest way you can gain your JP in this mod, which is really nice. I like that. Moving on, we also have access to the rendezvous missions from the War of the Lions version. You can do them all. Now, they're not like the War of the Lions version where you have to use... there's no multiplayer, of course, so you have to do them using your own units. And there are 2 rendezvous on this list that are exclusive to this mod, and those are, I believe, Mirror Match and Vagrant. I think. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. But those 2 are exclusive to this mod, and the rendezvous will unlock as you play through the game. So once you say get to the final stretch, you will have most of the rendezvous. I think a couple of them unlock only after you beat Ultima 2, I think. But once you finish the game, a couple of them will unlock, I think. So yeah, all the rendezvous are here. You can repeat them as many times as you want. Now I will say this, and it's not necessarily a thing I didn't like about the mod, but there is something. The rendezvous system pretty much makes the deep dungeon kind of what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not gonna say worthless, but it's not really. There's no reason to get the treasures on the deep dungeon, and I'll explain about that later. But because at the end of each rendezvous mission, you have access to the treasure wheel, and you are allowed to pick however many treasures the game will tell you, and you have a chance of choosing a rare chest. You have a chance of getting a rare chest. And in Chapter 4, I believe you have the option to pay some gil to increase the chance of the chest becoming rare. And depending on the rendezvous mission that you do, the items in the chests are different. So you can get stuff like Excaliburs and perfumes, rubber costumes, ribbons, stuff like that on the harder rendezvous anyway. And like I said before, you can keep repeating them, so you can eventually outfit your entire team with ribbons if you wanted to. That means you don't have to go around and poach anything. You don't have to go around and get the treasures from the deep dungeon, because you can get them from rendezvous missions. Next up, there were a few changes to some of the job classes, and Archer here is one of them. As you can see, Archers do not have the entire Charge Plus set. They lost Charge Plus 10 and Charge Plus 20, which I agree, because those skills are pretty useless. Their charge time is just way too long. Instead, they were replaced with Aim and Disrupt. Now, Disrupt especially is a really nice skill to use against bosses that are charging things on you, or anything that's charging on you, to be honest. And Aim is basically a 100% attack that's subject to evasion, I think. So yeah, Archer got a few changes, and I believe that Geomancer was changed as well. Now, I did explain the changes of Geomancer way back in the beginning of this playthrough, but in case you didn't see that, I'll explain it here. So basically what these three skills do, it will fire off an elemental attack based on the tile. So Pulse is 6 range with no AoE. And Pulse depends on the tile that the target is standing on, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And Surge is the same, except Surge has 5 range and 1 AoE. So there is AoE on Surge, there's no AoE on Pulse. Surge depends on the tile that the target is standing on. Elemental Blast, on the other hand, depends on the tile you are standing on. So Geomancer kind of incentivizes the player to play a little smart, because if you're looking for a certain status effect, for example, you want to make sure you move to a spot that has that status effect available, or if the target is standing on a spot that has the status you want. So if your target is standing on a tile that has a Petrify proc on the elemental skill, you want to use Pulse or Surge. But if the target is standing on, say, a Gusty Wind tile, and you're standing on a tile that procs Petrify or Sleep, you want to use Elemental Blast. So you definitely want to pay attention when you're using Geomancer. I do like the changes to this class. I do believe there was another mod that I played that had something like this, where the Geomancer depends on either the tile you're standing on or the tile that the target is standing on. I'm pretty sure that was Monster Tactics, but I could be wrong. Lancer was also changed around, as you can see. Basically, you learn these skills and you can add to your jump range. You can add up to 7 range to your jump. Now you notice that you don't have heights on this list, so you can jump to a certain amount of heights, but you can only raise your jump range by learning these jump range skills. And I felt that that was a pretty neat change to Lancer in general. Bard and Dancer were not changed too much. The only thing that really changed about Bard and Dancer were last song, and I think I want to say that the proc rate for the songs was increased a little bit, maybe. But last song especially was changed. Now this is actually the help text here is actually wrong. It does not raise your CT to 100. Last song actually increases your CT by 20. It's a 20 or 25. I think it's 20 though. Pretty sure it's 20. This Last Dance has 25. But yeah, this is wrong help text, so might want to change that so you don't confuse your players, because I was certainly confused when I used this skill. I was like, wait, I'm not getting quick from this, because that's what last song does in vanilla. It casts quick on your whole team if it hits. But yeah, it doesn't use quick on this mod. It raises CT by 20, so might want to change that. That's a little bit of a not a bug, but just wrong text, wrong information right there. Monk wasn't really changed per se, but Monk has an extra skill, as you can see, Stop Breath at the bottom of the list there. Now, Stop Breath, of course, is one of those skills used by the assassins, Celia and Letty. The only way you can learn Stop Breath on this mod is if you buy it from the Depths of Maran. So there's a couple of classes with extra skills that you may see on the list Stop breath is one of them. You won't see it on the list until you go into a battle and then look at the class, and then you'll see an extra skill under revive. So you can't master the monk class unless you learn stop breath. And of course, learning stop breath costs you completion points. There are several skills like this. I believe there's 6 of them. Stop breath is one of them. You also have what is it? Shadow Stitch for the thief. You can also learn non-charge for summoner. You can learn teleport 2 for time mage. You can also learn Ultima 2 and all Ultima for your Vamsa. And yeah, again, those cost completion points. Stop breath in particular is really strong. Definitely a strong addition to monk. And using stop breath and shadow stitch, you can pretty much turn one of your units. You can pretty much turn him into an assassin. And if you watch my playthrough, you saw my female monk. She had steel secondary, which had access to shadow stitch, and she was like part monk, part thief, and part assassin. So she was a very, very useful unit. I do like the changes, not changes, but I do like the implementation of these powerful skills into this mod, but it comes at a price, of course. And yeah, there's the Shadow Stitch for Thief, as I was explaining earlier. You can learn this by using the Depths of Mavand, which I will get into a little bit later. Yeah, I mean, not much else to explain about it. You can learn this skill and master your Thief class. And those of you who are wondering, how do I master, why is my Thief not mastered, why is my Summoner not mastered, it's because you have to learn these skills. And I asked myself that same question when I learned Zodiac at the end of the playthrough. I noticed that my Summoner class wasn't mastered, and I'm like, wait, what am I missing? I got all the summons, I got Zodiac, what am I missing? So what you're missing is that skill from Depths of Mavand. And in Summoner's case, it's non-charge. In Thief's case, it's Shadow Stitch. Alright, moving on. Rafa and Malak have been changed as well, and in my opinion, they've been changed for the better. I did explain this during the playthrough, but I'll be happy to explain it again. So the way Rafa and Malak skills work here is that each one of her skills has a different effect radius and a different vertical. So Heaven Thunder, for example, has range 4, effect 2, vertical 3. And the way it works is that the square that you target with one of these skills is always going to be the first square that the spell hits. So, except for the case of her last skill, which I forgot what it was called, but no matter what the radius is of any of these skills, your first spell is going to hit whatever you target. So if you target a monster or a unit directly, that first hit is always going to hit that unit. Now, all the other hits depends. It's randomized. So at least you are guaranteed one hit. That's what I'm trying to say. You are guaranteed one hit with Rafa's and Malak's skills. And you can see here, Heaven Thunder's radius. As you can see, the target is on the Kuar in the middle there of those group of Panthers right there for 280 damage. That first instance of damage is going to hit that Kuar. And as far as the rest of the hits, it may hit the others, it may not. But you are guaranteed that first hit with Rafa's skills and Malak's. And here is the radius of, I want to say, Asura. Asura's, what's that? Radiant Asura or something like that. All the names were changed, but Rafa's fire skill. As you can see, it's a huge radius. It's like pretty much a summon spell. But again, the number of hits was changed for each skill as well. I do believe Asura hits anywhere up to 12 times. But again, it's a large radius, so it can hit anywhere in that radius. But like I said earlier, that first hit is always going to hit your target, which is really nice. Oh yeah, this is Rafa's Earth skill, which I forget what it's called, but again, all the names were changed. Rafa's Earth skill only targets one target, and this is probably the skill you want to use with her, because unless they're like floating or immune to Earth, then you can do a lot of damage with this skill, because it only targets one unit, and there's no AoE, no randomization about it, aside from the number of hits, of course. So I do like that change as well. It's pretty much guaranteed to hit your target with this skill. And the same goes for Malak as well. Alright, next screen. We got a surprise at the end of the game. Once you beat Ultima 2, you get this little girl into your party, Alma. She is, in my opinion, probably one of the most broken units in the game. And the reason why I say that is because, I mean, her holy magic skill set is just way too good. Not to mention, she comes in with all Ultima. She learns all Ultima, and Ultima 2 for that matter. So she is quite busted. Now, of course, you can only get her at the end of the game, and if you decide to do, New Game Plus or Continue Plus, you can keep her. But she is there. Not to mention, you can also teach her stuff like non-charge and Teleport 2 using the Depths of Maran. You can train her using the contest system, of course, and she becomes quite powerful. She is definitely one of the strongest units in the game if you train her correctly. For me, I decided to make her into pretty much the ultimate support unit, because she's got a magic barrier. She's got white magic, of course. She can status things with Sleep 2 or Confuse 2. She can just nuke the entire map with all Ultima if you want to. She can also use Return 2, which sets their CT back to 0. She can do a lot of fun stuff. And yeah, once I got her, I pretty much used her in every battle. She's just too good not to use. And definitely a thing I liked about this mod is recruiting Alma into your party after beating the game. Speaking of beating the game, this is the screen of the Depths of Maran, and I talked about this on one of the videos during my playthrough. Depths of Maran is basically a bunch of options in which to increase your character's power. You can sell your lands to get more CP, and CP is the currency for this. You have to spend your CP to gain stuff like, non-charge, Teleport 2, all Ultima on your Ramza. I think you can teach that to anybody, honestly. You can teach any of those skills to anybody. So if you really wanted to, you could play through the game multiple times and get enough CP by selling your lands. You have to do all the propositions each time, but I mean, it is what it is. And at some point, you can teach your entire roster Teleport 2. You can teach your entire roster non-charge if you wanted to. That option is there. Basically, aside from that, you can also do things like you can lower your character down to level 1 without using the generator traps or using Mind Blast, and you can use that alongside the retraining option in the dispatch missions to level down and level up. without going through, you know, degenerated traps and whatnot. Much quicker process. There's also this option, which was the Forbidden Tome. So basically, the Forbidden Tome is a difficulty setter, difficulty in quotes. It allows you to choose between normal mode, nightmare mode, and no future mode. Basically, normal mode is basically what it is. Enemies are level 1 at the start, and they grow as your team does. Nightmare mode sets everything to level 50 as a base level, and no future mode sets everything to level 99. Now, I haven't had the chance to play around with no future mode. I don't know if the enemy units will have like better gear and more JP and whatnot and more skills to use. I guess I got to test that out, but yeah, the options there. If you want to just have fun with the mod, you can do that. And you can do something crazy like a no future playthrough with your characters. It's up to you. I mean, the options there. And then there's this thing. Okay, so if you watch the last part of the playthrough where I fought Eladibs, or Zodiac rather, you have to face off against 3 of these things. And let me tell you, these Lamias are so powerful. Just imagine Orlando with like a Chaos Blade set up with maximum PA, bracer, power sleeve, twist headband, all that other good stuff. Just imagine that. Attack up, all of that. These snake ladies have Orlando power and then some in an AoE and instant cast. These Lamias are probably one of the most broken things in the game. And the reason I say that is because monster skill was reworked so that you don't need to be next to the mediator or the unit with monster skill equipped. Monster skill works on every monster on the entire map. So basically all you have to do is bring in somebody with monster skill. Actually, I think equipped gun is on a monster skill effects is on equipped gun, I think. Pretty sure I read that somewhere. But anywho, you bring in a mediator and you bring in your monster and they can use their monster skill. Doesn't matter where they are on the map, as long as they're on the map. And I feel as though that's a really nice change. Gets a bit OP when it comes to monsters like Lamias and, you know, dragons and maybe like Sacreds and Tiamats and whatnot, but the options there. I mean, you can have some fun with this mod. You can do something crazy like something like a mediator Ramza +4 monster challenge or something like that. There's lots of fun stuff you can do with this. So I mean, it's another thing I liked about this mod. I mean, they're just broken. I mean, the Mias are just they're downright broken, and you can see for yourself. Just watch my Eladibs fight, and you'll see how these things wreck me. Moving on, we have this. Now, this is a neat little thing in this mod where if you hold the square button on your unit, you can see, and I probably should show it on the next slide here. Yeah. So if you hold the square button, you notice how some of my units are glowing a little like greenish. If you pay attention closely to Alma there and my summoner, you see they're glowing a little greenish, and if you look at my monk, she's glowing a little reddish. So what this does is basically it's telling you who is compatible with who. So if you hold the square button on your unit, like so, if you notice my archer here, he's a Sagittarius, that's Sagittarius sign. Basically you hold square and then it'll tell you who on your roster, or who on your team rather, is good compat with this unit or bad compat. And as you can see back on this shot, the two green glowing units, Alma and the Summoner, are good compat with the Archer. And the Monk, who has a reddish glow, kind of like a reddish orangish glow or something like that, is bad compat. So that's a really nice little neat change I liked about this mod, is the fact that you can see who is compatible with who. And that means you don't have to go to the status screen, you don't have to like hold square and read the help text and see who's best compat or good compat with who and who's bad compat and whatnot. This is a neat little way to show who is compatible with who, and I like that. It's just one of those little one of the many quality of life changes I love about this mod is stuff like this. I mean, it just makes things easier for the player, and I like that. Okay, so that is that's it for the slides. Yeah, I mean, I loved playing through this mod. I love all the quality of life changes. It just makes things so much easier, and the mod maker and everyone who worked on this mod, like I said in the beginning, you did a fantastic job. Fantastic job. I can't explain that enough. I really didn't find anything that I like hated about this mod. I can't find anything. I honestly can't. I guess the one main thing that I'm not gonna say I didn't like, but I'm gonna say I wish was in this mod, and I explained about this during the playthrough a couple times, but I kind of wish that the vanilla battles were changed up a little bit. Instead of just, the vanilla War of the Lions battles, the vanilla Deep Dungeon battles. Deep Dungeon, I was especially sad to see the monsters and the formations there were vanilla. I was so sad to see that. But I guess that's probably the only little gripe I have about it. But I mean, it's just a tiny gripe, so it's it's just one thing, and that's just me. But yeah, I do want to show one thing real quick, if I can. Let me see. I can pull it up here. Okay. Alright, so basically this is the post. If you go to ffhactics.com, which is a fantastic site. If you want to learn about Final Fantasy Tactics hacking, if you want to join a great community. I was a part of this community at one point. I did visit ffhactics.com often, but that was like over 5 years ago, probably more than that. But anyway, if you go over to ffhactics.com, and I'll put the link in the description below if you're interested. If you go down to this post right here, it's basically everything you need to know about this mod. Of course, of course, there's the video that you can watch that explains pretty much what I did about this mod. And it also gives you a rundown of the mechanics and whatnot, and it also tells you character job changes. Pretty much all the information you need to know is here. And I know I didn't mention anything about like Luso and Ashley. I mean, they're self-explanatory, so yeah, they are in this mod. Let's see, it gives you weapon changes. Pretty much there's a lot of information here that you can read yourself. I'm not gonna read all this. And then the quality of life changes. Pretty sure I didn't explain all of these, like the cross skip, for example. You can hold cross on cutscenes and rush through events. And there's also another really nice thing I liked about this mod is the fact that you can just hold start to skip the cutscene. But some cutscenes, yes, cutscenes. Some cutscenes you cannot skip, so you have to hold cross through the dialogue if you want to. That is an option. I did like that about this mod too. Oh. Customized version of the Permadeath Terminator has been included, which only activates during rendezvous battles. When active, once a unit's timer runs out, it becomes unrevivable for the rest of the battle. Oh, I did not know that. I legit did not know that. Interesting. But does not turn into a treasure or a crystal. Oh, that's interesting. I legit did not know that because I never had this happen to me on any of the rendezvous missions. See, Zodiac Compat, I just finished explaining that. Oh, cancel movement is also a really nice addition to this mod where you can move your character, but before you act, you can hit cross to revert back to your units, back to where they were. So I really love this change because say if you move to a spot and you confirm, normally once you confirm you can't move back. So in this mod, if you confirm but then decide, you have second thoughts and say, oh, I don't want to move to this spot, I want to move to this other spot, or I want to do this instead, you can do that. You can just hit cross and go back to your starting position and then make your change accordingly. I love that. Now, it doesn't work with teleport. At least I don't think it does, because no. Let me rephrase that. It does work with teleport, but if you fail your teleport, it doesn't work. Right? Okay, that makes more sense. And that did happen to me a couple of times during my playthrough where I failed to teleport. You can't move cancel if you fail your teleport. If you succeed your teleport, you can. You can move back. You just can't do it when you fail your teleport. And there's a couple of other things here. Learn on hit skills. You can learn them by not being in that class. So if Ramza is a monk and has guts, he can still learn Ultima because he has guts secondary. That's really nice. A quick change no longer consumes your action for that turn if you only change weapons or shields. That's interesting. And let's see, missing units can have their equipment and skills changed, preventing any of them from locking their gear away from others, or being unable to have their gear reset before returning for a future battle. Okay, so that's the thing that you kind of have to watch out for in this mod, especially during chapter 2. So, and if you watch my playthrough, you saw what happened. So, Agrias is a perfect example. So, you get Agrias as a guest at the start of chapter 2, like after the first battle, Agrias and Gafgarian. Now, of course, you know Agrias leaves after, is it Barrius Hill? I think after the Barrius Hill battle, she leaves. Now, instead of just like flat out not being on your roster anymore, she will still be on your roster, but the game will flag her as missing, and you'll see that missing text under her sprite. Basically, you can still equip her, but if you unequip her and leave her, like okay, so say you have gear on her and you want some of her gear back, you want to use that gear and you take all her gear from her. By the time you get to Barriers Valley where she rejoins, she will have no gear. So you kind of have to be careful with that, because like I said, if you saw what happened to me, I had to reset because my Agrias had no gear. So you have to make sure once the guest leaves, agrees. Another perfect example is Ovelia. There are a couple of battles in this mod where you have to use Delita and Ovelia by themselves, and if Ovelia has no gear on, then there's a chance that she will die. So you have to make sure she has something equipped. So that's a neat little change I like about this mod as well. Is the fact that guests will not have gear if you strip them of their gear. So yeah, that's gonna do it for this review. If I want to give it a score, I want to give it a 9.5 out of 10. Seriously, I mean, I liked everything about this mod. I mean, there's a couple of things where, yeah, there's a couple of things that really didn't sit well with me, but I like the fact that all of the battles were vanilla and Deep Dungeon was vanilla. That broke my heart. Let me say this: one of the reasons I play through these mods is, not because I love epic tactics, but I do, but I also play it for Deep Dungeon content, and I have seen some very tough Deep Dungeon content in quite a few mods I've played. Example, Cerebos mod 1.3. Let's not talk about 1.3. What else? Reimagined. Reimagined. Well, Reimagine is his own thing. I'm not gonna get into that. You can look at the. You can check out my review for that. But like I said, Deep Dungeon content is another big reason why I play FFT mods. And the fact that there was no changes made to Deep Dungeon battles kind of broke my heart. I was sad. But speaking of Deep Dungeon, I will mention this real quick. Deep Dungeon was changed in the fact that you can use, you can go to the exit panel and either not finish the battle, or you can finish the battle and then the exits will pop up on the screen, and then you can just hit the exit panel and then end the fight. So, and you can watch that during the playthrough as well. So anyway, excellent mod. Will give it, I'll give it a 9.5 out of 10. Definitely a fantastic mod to play through. If you are a tactics fan, you should definitely check out this mod. I mean, it will be worth your time. It does have it does have a bit of a replayability factor. It does have a new game plus mode, so you can use your units in new game plus mode, and you can do a lot of fun stuff with that too. New game plus mode, you can bring in, pretty much you'll have all the same equipment that you've had right as you ended the game. Just think of it as new game plus for, it's kind of like Chrono Trigger's new game plus mode, where you get to keep your stuff and whatnot. You get to keep your levels, you get to play around with stuff like no future mode. If you're into that, you can min-max your stats on all your units and all that good stuff. So it does have some replayability factor to it, and I like that too. So anyway, that's going to do it for this review. Again, check this mod out if you're interested. It's definitely worth your time. Definitely worth your time. So with that said, I will see y'all later.